front of the suspension. Toto Wolff is with us now. Toto, looks like you've got a decent car around here potentially.
More decent. Yeah, the 2 laps were not great. The drivers weren't particularly happy with the car, and it was the 3rd attempt because it was there were yellow flags. So overall, yeah, we're not miles off.
It doesn't look so compliant on some of the bumps, though. I was out on track a few minutes ago. Quite a lot of movement. The drivers are having to maybe second guess where to turn in.
Yeah, both said that the ride is really poor. The car is too stiff. And you can see that. I mean, it's good that you saw it out there. Well, you can see it even on the braking to what is it, turn 7, and that our ride is poor until you actually turn into the corners, and the others are still stiff, but it stops at a certain stage when they go on the brakes.
Interested. Did your engineer say this was going to be a good race, or is this unexpected how close you are to the opposition?
Well, yeah, it was. We knew that this track is going to suit our car more. But we didn't know how much the bumps would affect us, so it's what we are seeing actually.
Are you in a fight for pole position? Do you think there's 3 teams in with a shot?
Yeah, I think Red Bull was a little bit in a mess. I don't know what they've done setup-wise or something else. I think, yeah, we can be in the fight there.
Does it seem as you might struggle a bit in quali, but you've got a better race car as we've seen earlier on in the season, or have you moved?
Yes, our long run was very competitive against the Sainz long run, but again, there we haven't seen Leclerc and we haven't seen Max.
Why did both the drivers lose out in the first lap? Was it traffic or was it mistakes that they're struggling with the bumps?
It was one, I think Lewis was blocked, if I remember correctly, or maybe that was FP1. Yeah, it was yellow flags or a blockage, so there was always a reason.
Looks like it's going to be a long race too. These cars, they're so heavy, obviously. It looks like it might be a time race, might be even getting into that kind of situation, might we come Sunday?
Yeah, and they're so physical. Also, the heat in the cars is enormous. I don't know whether it's our packaging or everybody has the problem, but at least they will be working for their money this time.
Okay, there's been a bit of noise, Toto, up and down the paddock. The rumours are swirling about alleged breaches of the cost cap. Let's just show you a statement from the FIA on this subject. What it says, the FIA is currently finalising the assessment of the 2021 financial data submitted by all Formula One teams. Alleged breaches of the financial regulations, if any, will be dealt with according to the formal process set out in the regulations. Now, there are 2 types of breach. There is a minor breach, which is an overspend of less than 5%, and a major breach, or a material breach, we call it, from more than 5%. Let's just go through what could happen potentially if any of the teams are found guilty. Minor, deduction of drivers and constructors championship points. This can be retrospectively as well, going back to 2021, because this is what the financial data refers back to. Suspension from 1 or more stages of a competition, limitations on ability to conduct aerodynamic or other testing, reduction of the cost cap. Major breaches, deduction of drivers and constructors championship points, suspension from 1 or more stages of a competition, suspension from the entire competition, exclusion from the championship, reduction of the cost cap. Now, the rumours are, we had Christian Horner come on early. He said he's absolutely clear. From his perspective, there's been no breach from Red Bull's side of things. But nevertheless, the rumour up and down the paddock is 2 teams, and they are one of them. Have you, or are you aware of any breaches, Toto?
Funny that Christian says that, because it's been weeks and months they are being investigated. So maybe he doesn't speak to his CFO. As a matter of fact, yeah, all of us have been investigated diligently. And as far as we understand, there's a team in minor breach, which is more procedural, and another team that is fundamental, massively over, and that is being still looked after. So that's an open secret in the paddock.
Just to continue on that, if it were to be Red Bull and you have seen what the potential penalties are, and if they are in material breach, what will you be pushing for, Toto?
I don't know. I think there's a governance in place that is very solid, that the FIA have set up, and this is you're going to be issued a certificate of compliance, and then if you're not compliant, it goes to the so-called cost cap adjudication panel with independent judges, and they can then choose from these penalties the appropriate one. But the crucial part is that if you've been over in 21, then you've been over in 22. That means you have an advantage into 23. If it's true that they've homologated a lightweight chassis this year, they may use it in next year. So it's really a cascade of events that can be influential in all of the 3 championships.
Is this a heavyweight showstopper, this issue, or the playground politics of F1?
That's heavyweight. That's massively heavyweight. We are using used parts. We are not running what we would want to run. We are not developing what we could be developing. We have made more than 40 people redundant that are dearly missed in our organization. And it was a huge mammoth project to make the cap. I don't know how many tens and millions we had to restructure, reprocess in order to be below the cap. And if someone has been not doing that or pushing the boundaries, every million is a massive disadvantage.
What's the remedy? Would you push to change 2021 results?
No, I think it's not up to me to judge, and that's not realistic. Up to me to judge what the penalties could be. The judges have all that scope to analyze, but I wouldn't want to be in their position because of the impact it had over 3 years.
Are the FIA being very open, giving the other teams the information they need from that?
No, I think at that stage it's still an assessment of what is happening. I think it would be important to have a certain degree of transparency where the alleged breaches have happened or the alleged misinterpretations in order for us to assess. Because you need to imagine, even if it's the so-called minor breach that can be below 5%, you can spend 7 million more than everybody else. And that means if this is a light penalty, we will be all pushing those 5% more from going forward.
A serious Formula One journalist said to me that you've got people working for you now that used to work for Red Bull, and you know if it's about Red Bull, and you might know more than you perhaps did before. Is that true?
No, I think it's a rumor. You know how it is in this little paddock of 10,000 square meter. The rumor mill is going since a while that they are over, and they are quite a lot over. That's not from some employees, but they've been investigated now for months.
Well, Christian says he's confident in his submission. So for the moment, Christian says he's very confident in their submission. That's what he's come out and said. So for the moment, obviously, we have to take him at his word. Obviously, we're going to find out whether they are compliant next week, or at least in the next couple of weeks. But Toto, I suppose what it does do is it brings up a wider issue on the cost cap. We get periods, don't we, of dominance. You've just been through one. When you have a cost cap that is reducing, as this one is, quite hard to play catch-up, I should imagine.
It is
hard to play catch-up if you're behind.
Yeah, massively. You need to imagine that we have a pool of, call it $140 million. If you're spending 5 or 10% more than everybody else, that's many, many tenths of a second. We couldn't reduce our overweight, which is double-digit this year, because we simply didn't have the money to produce the new parts and put them on the car. It wasn't there. So you're fighting a totally different league if you have been pushing the limit upwards.
Compared to other years, how much of the car do you have to carry over to next year on that basis then?
Well, we have to carry a lot of the car, and we couldn't do the development that we did want to do. We know that there is performance on the table for this year which we couldn't bring, and the same for Ferrari, as far as I understand.
But everybody was given an inflation uplift, and obviously the 7 British-based teams, the pound against the dollar, moving towards parity scarily. Surely that's given you such a lot of headroom on the budget.
There's a complex formula behind it, so we are not benefiting a lot from the parity. And don't forget, we need to also align with the euro, Ferrari land. We need to align with Sauber land, with the Swiss franc. So it isn't a 20% uplift that you would imagine if you look at the foreign exchange.
Was it a locked-in exchange rate that was at some stage?
A
locked-in exchange rate?
Yeah, but we haven't gained from that, because how the formula is made for all teams is that you're not making these swings so quickly. Okay,
well, it's a huge story. Let's just get back onto this weekend and the rest of the year for you. Obviously, Lewis has not gone a season without a pole position or a win. What's the goal for the rest of the year? Do you think one of your drivers is capable of that?
Lewis says that for him that these stats play no role, but it's about developing the car, and if we were to achieve a good result, it would be an indication that at least our data analysis is right now where we are good and where we are not, and that would be really important. And being closer to pole, being close on race pace to Verstappen or the Ferraris, whoever has the benchmark, that would be important.
You can still beat the Ferraris and the constructors, though, the way they're working together.
Yeah, we can, and that's obviously a nice objective to have there with an eye on next year.
Kind of in other news question, but you renewed with Petronas for 4 years early for the future. That really tells you where Formula One's at the moment. That's extraordinary.
Yeah, these guys are great. I mean, we've been with them since 2010. the relationship that we have all through the levels is much more than just a professional relationship. We're working on the new regulations together in very integrated teams. And yeah, we are in a good place, and most of the sponsorship contract now go at least 5 years, if not more. So commercially, what Liberty has done, what Stefano has done, and also the FIA, hopefully with our robust policing, is good for the sport.
Toto, thanks very much for
Thank you very much.
talking to us. Best of luck.